up, guys? EJ here, back with another video, and today it's going to be my weekly movie review roundup, episode 25. So I've got six movies to talk about from this past week. Yeah, finally Netflix sent me some of the films I've been waiting a long time for, and of course starting off with one I've been waiting for the most. I watched Legend last Tuesday, May 17th. Written and directed by Brian Helgeland. Of course, starring Tom Hardy, who plays identical twin brothers, the Cray brothers, who ruled a crime ring in 1960s East End London, and they were very successful. Yeah, Tom Hardy plays Reginald Cray and his twin brother Ronnie Cray. Reginald is more the brains of the operation. He sort of has manners, knows how to deal with people. His twin brother Ronnie is a homosexual and not afraid to tell people about it, which was quite a shock back then. But he's also a loose cannon, and the difference between the two of them is very stark in the way Tom Hardy plays both characters. You always know who's who when he's on screen as either Reginald or Ronnie Cray. Reggie strikes up a relationship with a young student played by Emily Browning, who's very good in the movie. David Toulis is also in the film. He plays sort of their fixer. He's like Reginald's main guy who helps him out, sort of strong arm these businesses in East End London. But Ronnie isn't really a fan of David Toulis's character, and towards the end of the film he tries to have him killed. So yeah, there's lots of good looking scenery. Reggie owns a nightclub. Interestingly enough, Duffy, the Welsh singer, is in the film, sort of an extended cameo. She plays the nightclub singer at the nightclub that Reggie owns. She doesn't have any dialogue in the movie, but you see her numerous times singing at this high-end nightclub where the rich and famous of Britain at the time, celebrities and politicians, like to mingle with with criminals. It's not a great film. I didn't love it overall. I liked it for the most part. I wasn't a huge fan of Ronnie, the other twin brother. But like I said, Tom Hardy's always good. He's good as Reggie, and the two of them combined, obviously a force of nature. There's also a small appearance by Chaz Palminteri. He comes over from America, sort of represents the mafia, the mob's interests, saying, hey, what we have in Las Vegas, you guys can have in London, and he's there to sort of form a partnership. Of course, there's bouts of sudden violence, and even though, I mean, they don't use many guns back then in England and London, there's a couple of bits with guns and some very violent scenes towards the end. Paul Bettany has a small role as well. He plays the leader of the rival crime boss in the south side of London, while the Cray brothers rule the northeast side of London. So yeah, Legend, good movie, not a great one. I enjoyed it for the most part for Tom Hardy and Emily Browning's performances. So Legend, I gave a 7 out of 10. Alright, moving on to Wednesday, May 18th. I watched Daddy's Home, directed by Sean Anders, starring Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg. Will Ferrell plays a radio DJ for a smooth jazz station, who's just about on the verge of sort of connecting with his new stepkids. At first they hate him and they draw pictures of him getting killed, but eventually these two kids that he's stepfather to are coming around to him. But then of course their biological dad, Mark Wahlberg, shows up and he's like the cool dad. Drives a motorbike and wears leather jackets and is all around a way cooler person than Will Ferrell is. The woman who's the wife of is played by Linda Cardellini. Fantastic actress. I don't understand why she's not more of a star. She needs to be in more things because I love Linda Cardellini. Beautiful, stunning, just a cool actress, and she's really good in this. I like her a lot in this as well. She hates Mark Wahlberg's character. She doesn't want anything to do with him. Doesn't want him back in her kids' lives, and she's just sort of has this nice relationship with Will Ferrell, the new stepdad, who's a really good guy. Does all the right things. Stays in the cones. Stays in the lanes. When he drops off the kids at school, there's a whole big thing. Uh, like the traffic cop there, like has a big deal about keeping the cars in the cones, and of course, Mark Wahlberg is the type to be outside the cones, while Will Ferrell is perfectly happy to be in them. Of course, throughout the movie, Will Ferrell tries to one up Mark Wahlberg to little effect in some points. There's actually a pretty funny movie part of the movie where Mark Wahlberg helps build the tree house in the back. He like turns it into a skate park and builds this amazing tree house that was barely nothing that Will Ferrell is working on, and that leads to a pretty funny moment when Will Ferrell busts out his skateboard. I laughed pretty hard during that moment. And also, there's a big school dance at the end of the movie involving the kids, and there's a pretty funny moment during that, which I liked a lot. Bill Burr makes a good appearance. The comedian Bill Burr makes a good. So yeah, guys, as I was saying, yeah, at the end of the film, there's a school dance, and there's some pretty funny moments, and the comedian Bill Burr makes a nice appearance during that scene. So yeah, Bill Burr. Daddy's Home has its moments. It's not a great movie. Will Ferrell's likable, and Mark Wahlberg is doing his usual thing. So I gave it a 6 out of 10. But Linda Cardellini, let's get her in some more movies, man, because she's dynamite, and I wish she was in more stuff. Anyway, moving on to Thursday. Let's say May 19th, I watched Dirty Grandpa, directed by Dan Mazer, starring Robert De Niro and Zac Efron. Zac Efron plays a corporate lawyer, very stuffy kid. He's about to marry the boss's daughter. Yeah, he's engaged to the boss's daughter, played by Julianne Howe, who's a total shrew of a girl. And of course, Robert De Niro plays his grandfather. The film starts out with the funeral of Robert De Niro's wife. So basically, Robert De Niro pleads with his grandson, "Hey, can you drive me down to Florida and go visit our favorite spot?" That he wants to go visit the favorite spot of him and his former wife, because that's what she wanted. The two of them, growing up, they had a good relationship. They had a good bond. But over time, as Zac Efron has pursued his lawyer career and gone the straight and narrow path, they've sort of parted ways. So Robert De Niro convinces him to drive him down to Florida to go visit the spot. But Robert De Niro's main motive is really to fuck any girl he can find. You think he's this kindly old man, but he's this like foul-mouthed, obnoxious old guy who wants to screw anything that moves. And at one point they run into a couple of people at a diner. One of them is played by Zoe Deutsch. She used to have a photography class with Zac Efron's character back in college. Zac Efron's used to pursue photography, and so Robert De Niro sees that he's gone down this boring path, and he's given up his dreams of becoming a photographer. Meanwhile, Zoe Deutsch is this cute little girl So there's a little spark between Zoe Deutsch and Zac Efron. One of their friends who they meet as well is played by Aubrey Plaza. She's just this horny college girl who has the hots for Robert De Niro, and basically the rest of the film, Robert De Niro is plotting to have sex with Aubrey Plaza, and that's pretty much the whole movie. They go down to Daytona Beach. They get into all sorts of shenanigans and troubles during spring break. Zac Efron doesn't want anything to do with it. He keeps ending up drunk and naked, and it's all sort of because of Robert De Niro's doing. And he ends up hating his grandfather for turning him into this crazy guy. Meanwhile, he's trying to call his wife back at home, tell her everything's alright and he's doing the right thing. But obviously he's not, as he's falling in love with Zoe Deutsch, who they keep running into, and so on. And Aubrey Plaza just keeps trying to jump Robert De Niro's bones. That's basically the whole of Dirty Grandpa. Sort of sad, really, that Robert De Niro has sunk this low. It has its moments. Again, there's some pretty crazy and wacky scenes. Even the so-called sex scene between De Niro and Aubrey Plaza is kind of funny towards the end of the film, and that leads to some pretty funny consequences. So I like Aubrey Plaza. I like seeing her in this role. She's kind of sexy and slutty as hell in this film, which I liked. Yeah, Zac Efron's fine as a straight man. But yeah, Robert De Niro, kind of sad that he's spewing all these words and acting like a horny old guy. Certainly not a great movie, but not a terrible movie either. Dermot Mulroney is also in the film. He plays Zac Efron's father, and of course Robert De Niro's son. Yeah, like I said, Julianne Howe is in the film, sort of playing the typical obnoxious wife to be. Yeah, not a great movie, like I said. So Dirty Grandpa, I gave a 6 out of 10. Alright, moving on to Thursday, May 20th. I watched The Witch, or The Vitch. Yeah, it's spelled with like 2 double V's at the beginning. Yeah, The Witch, and a New England folktale, written and directed by Robert Eggers. Yeah, sort of interesting little horror film set in 1620s or 1630s New England. A family gets sort of kicked out of a colonial village, and they have to go off into the wilderness and set up their own little homestead at the edge of the forest. One day, the oldest daughter, who's probably the highlight of the movie, let me sure I get her name right. Anya Taylor-Joy is the actress's name. She plays Thomason. Interesting name for a woman. Thomason. One day she's looking after the young baby, and she's playing games with it, peekaboo, and all of a sudden it gets snatched from her arms and gets taken into the forest. We don't know by what. Obviously, they all think it's a witch that's stolen the child, or a wolf. And this basically turns the rest of the family sort of against her. Yeah, there's a father and mother. So yeah, as I was saying, this family is sort of deeply religious. Yeah, there's mother and father. Tom, I'm gonna mess up the names. Thomason. She has a younger brother called Caleb. They have a little bit of a bond, sort of a creepy bond at some points. There's a couple times where he like looks down his sister's shirt, which is pretty interesting. And they also have 2 younger siblings who are twins, Mercy and Jonas, who just run around and yelling, and they play together. So yeah, sort of the when the little baby goes missing, the mother is sort of distraught. The father, he just sort of continues on chopping wood, trying to keep the family together. They read their prayers at night. They hoe corn in the field, but sort of these strange forces, which they're not sure about, keep sort of popping up within their eldest daughter, Thomason. But like I said, she's the highlight of the film. Stuff goes haywire towards the end of the movie. I don't want to get into it. Yeah, there's interesting scenes um, with her and sort of the whole family, actually. It's an interesting film. It's a good looking film. I like the whole atmosphere, the whole setting. Not sure about the whole ye old English dialogue for the most part. It's a lot of thee and thou and that kind of stuff. But it's a good looking film. Sort of goes off the rails, to be honest, towards the end. But I liked it overall, mainly because of the young girl's performance. Anya Taylor-Joy as Thomason. I thought she was good and interesting. Um, and I kind of dug the ending, to be honest. The ending was kind of cool. Um, so yeah, The Witch, good little horror film. I don't know if it's the best horror film of our generation, as some people have called it. But yeah, check it out if you like those type of movies. I gave it a 7 out of 10. Alright, moving on to Friday, May 21st, I watched Brassed Off, which I watched for the Movie Reviewers 100. The collab channel I'm on this week is Ewan McGregor week, so I watched the 1996 movie, the other British film he made that year, Brassed Off, set in a Yorkshire town in 1984, where a coal mine is about to be shut down, and it's about the brass band that the miners playing. Yeah, Ewan McGregor, Tara Fitzgerald, and Pete Postlethwaite. Good movie. If you want to see my full review, check it out in the link in the description. Okay, finishing off the week. Last night, unfortunately, I had the misfortune of watching Zoolander 2, directed, of course, by Ben Stiller, who returns as Derek Zoolander, the famous fashion model. So over the past 15, 16 years since the first Zoolander came out in 2001, Derek has been in seclusion, hiding in seclusion, once his house or his fucking bird outside is distracting me. Anyway, yeah, his center for children who can't read so good, or whatever it's called, that he made out of the model that he initially made for the actual little model of the center. He made the whole building out of that, and that collapsed back in the day, killing his wife, played by, oh, I forget her name, and it disfigured his rival, Hansel. Freaking birds out there, man. Who, of course, is played by Owen Wilson, who returns in this movie. The other thing I liked about this film was the beginning. At the beginning of the film, Justin Bieber is getting chased in the streets of Rome by guys on motorcycles, and they gun him down outside Sting's house, and they kill Justin Bieber, and that sets off the whole movie. It's a terrible film. I've hated this movie. Yeah, Will Ferrell returns as Mugatu. You've got Mila Jovovich as his henchwoman. You've got Kristen Wiig turns up as the new hot fashion designer. You can't really understand a word she says because she pronounces every word with sort of a different syllable. So instead of saying fashion, she says like fish on. It's just fucking weird. She's barely recognizable. All these crazy outfits. I was like, who the hell is that? And then I found out afterwards. I was like, oh shit, that's Kristen Wiig. Penelope Cruz is in the movie as a Interpol agent. Again, there's a whole nefarious plot towards the end of the film. Yeah, Ben Stiller comes out of hiding from being a hermit crab, as he calls it. And Ben Wilson, Owen Wilson, he and Ben Stiller team up to take on these evil people. There's also another guy called I forget what he's called, Atari something, Atari Rob. He was annoying as fuck the way he talked. I hated that character. yeah, I just hated the whole movie in general. I don't like anything about it. Billy Zane shows up again as himself. I like the original Zoolander. I've always liked that movie. I have that movie, but I definitely will not be buying the sequel. So Zoolander 2, I gave a 5 out of 10. So there you have it. 6 movies this week. A very long video as per usual, but I finally got to see Legend and a couple other films that have been on my wait list for a while. So thank you for watching as always, and until next time, I'll see ya.
Bond. James Bond.